In this 25th anniversary year of September 11th, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation continues to honor America's heroes. Heroes like Fire Lieutenant Michael Wells, who was inspired by 9/11 to serve his community. After 14 dedicated years of service, he lost his battle with occupational cancer, leaving behind his wife, Katie, and their 3 children. Tunnel to Towers honored Lieutenant Wells by paying off the family's mortgage in recognition of his sacrifices. Donate $11 monthly and amplify your impact with a car or land donation. Go to T2T.org.
He's at war with woke.
Joe Concha
thinks liberals are a joke.
Joe Concha.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
Welcome, everybody, on this Thursday night where a lot is happening, including the stock market doing quite well for the 4th consecutive day. We saw gains in terms of the Dow Jones and the NASDAQ S&P. People like what they're seeing as far as this ceasefire, which, again, any ceasefire with Iran, who cannot be trusted in any way, shape, or form, is holding-ish, which, relatively is a good thing. Some cargo ships are going through the Strait of Hormuz, not as many as we would like. And unless that traffic increases after this 2-week deadline that the president has set, we will restart hostilities where the Iranians have no ability to fight back in any real way. So that's where we are. But we have Democrats who, this one really bothers me. Hakeem Jeffries, who, last check, probably has never picked up a squirt gun in his life, let alone an actual weapon of war, mocking the Secretary of War and Pete Hegseth, who is highly decorated and served in Iraq and Afghanistan, even volunteered to go back at one point when he didn't have to continue the fight, and now mocking his abilities as the Secretary of War. I think that operation to get Maduro out of Venezuela was very, very successful, right? And the Operation Midnight Hammer to take out Fordo and much of Iran's nuclear capabilities, not all, but a very, very good chunk, also successful. And this war, from a military perspective, has been highly successful. You think about Iran, they've been building up their war machine for nearly 50 years, and we took it out in less than 4 weeks. Everything. Ballistic missiles, ICBMs, possible nuclear capabilities, and obviously drone capabilities, the Navy, their Air Force, all gone. And you're going to mock this guy when you didn't serve a day in your life, Hakeem, because you really, really want to be House Speaker, so you're going to Al Sharpton's ridiculous summit and go for the cheap applause line. Anyway, here's Hakeem Jeffries mocking the Secretary of War and Pete Hegseth, and it's every bit as condescending as one would expect. Cut number 1, go.
Just
9, excuse me.
And who they put in charge of the attack on DEI? Pete Hegseth. The most unqualified Secretary of Defense in American history. You don't have the standing to lecture anyone. This guy can't organize a 2-car funeral.
Ooh, I practiced that one in the mirror for a long time.
He was a Fox News host, and now he's the Secretary of Defense?
Oh, screw you. Oh, yeah, he just went from being like a guy like me on Fox, and then they made him Secretary of Defense. No, you left out the 20 years. You left out the Bronze Star that he earned as far as in the military and all the sacrifices that he made. Give me a break. It's just so cheesy. That's what Democrats are. They're dumb and they're cheesy, and that's not a good combination. Meanwhile, General Jack Kane, also on Fox, is talking about here how, look, the Iranians can't win militarily. Their only play at this point is to delay things as much as possible because they know that there is a certain amount of pressure that is on the Republicans and obviously the president in terms of getting this thing done and over. And if it can't be done and over in a short period of time, then obviously oil prices go up, gas prices stay high, and then Republicans are in serious, serious trouble, as in a bloodbath in November as far as the midterms. So here's the general, and I think he makes some very, very good points here in terms of The Iranian strategy is not to win, it's simply to delay. This is cut number 17. Go.
What the Iranians will try to do, Stuart, is they'll try to delay and drag this out because they're really masters at this. Yeah. I mean, they've been at this for years, and they're excellent at it. And they'll drag it out because they want more pressure on the president not to start again, because oil prices are down, markets up, people are feeling better, political pressure's off him, and the idea of going back in, would be a very unpopular start, for sure. No, and I think he has to do exactly that, but hold to the 2-week deadline.
He's exactly right about that. And let's see where we are in 2 weeks. But in the end, you got to wonder, will the Iranians simply just delay as much as possible, knowing that everybody in this country wants to wrap this thing up as soon as possible, as in like now? All right, achieved our objectives. They've been neutered militarily. Let's move on, get some stability back in the markets, get gas prices down. They know this. They're not dumb. And you have to wonder, like, what the end game will be here. Anyway, Chuck Schumer is a mess, right? We're entering like a Joe Biden kind of territory at this point, as far as he could barely get through the talking points that were written out for him clearly. Listen to this, and you tell me if things are any different between Biden when he was president and Chuck Schumer now, because it's hard to tell the difference, and that ain't a good thing when this is the Senate minority leader. This is cut number 5. Go.
The bottom line is that Iran still has its nuclear stockpile, its nuclear ambitions. Iran still has its nuclear stockpile. Its nuclear ambitions are still unchecked.
Yeah, that sounded pretty. He was very sure of himself. Actually, he couldn't find the notes, if you watch the video, of what was written for him. Such conviction. I mean, even Democrats want this guy gone, as they should. Ineffective, old, slow, and clearly in need of a retirement village somewhere. Meanwhile, Lawrence O'Donnell is, well, we've always known that he is insane. He's over on MS, whatever it is now. And here he is. I love these before and after clips in terms of Trump and Iran. And Lawrence just can't seem to pick a lane here at this point. This is cut number 3. Go.
The most dangerous person who has ever occupied the White House, the first and only president who casually issues threats of nuclear war on a whim, as the president did tonight in a tweet that should have already activated the vice president and a majority of the cabinet to remove the president as unfit to serve under the 25th Amendment. The 25th Amendment was written for yesterday at 8:03 a.m. That's what Donald Trump delivered his Easter greeting to the world that included a promise to commit war crimes on Tuesday night. The 25th Amendment was written for this.
Yeah. Except that Lawrence O'Donnell told us over and over again that Joe Biden, even in 2024, was as fit as Saquon Barkley and mentally sharp as Stephen Hawking. All right. And now he's talking about the 25th Amendment for Trump. Again, to make this point over and over again, this is called negotiating. So when Trump says that he's going to blow away an entire civilization, this is the language that the Iranians in that regime, or what's left of it, knows. And for O'Donnell, therefore, to say, like, hey, he's threatening nuclear war. Yeah, well, it's called the madman theory. I heard Greg Kelly talk about this before on WABC here in New York, that if our enemies think that our president is that much of a madman that he will actually follow through on the things that he is threatening, therefore they will negotiate. Because we've seen from Obama and from Biden that if you play nice with the Iranians, guess what happens? It's crazy in terms of what they will take advantage of and how they laugh at us as a result. Meanwhile, the media now calling Trump taco. Like, that's like the cool thing now. Taco. Taco meaning Trump always chickens out. Does he really? The way this guy has acted so swiftly with the border, with Venezuela, with Iran, Cuba's about to fall. Yeah, that's a guy that chickens out, right? It's just so laughable. But yet this is how they're speaking, because they sounded like Lawrence O'Donnell, which, oh my gosh, he's threatening to take out a civilization. And then when Trump doesn't do that, then Well, now he's chicken. Again, 3 words. Pick a lane. Cut number 3. Go.
Donald Trump just caved, backing down from his fake deadline.
All day today, everyone, most notably the people of Iran, were wondering if their civilization was going to die tonight. Well, good news, it didn't. It was the Taco Tuesday of all Taco Tuesdays.
It's been very obvious for the last few days that the president was looking for an off-ramp.
The taco, Trump always chickens out syndrome.
Okay. So Trump's a war criminal who stopped the war because he's a chicken.
That's my colleague and friend Jesse Waters, who, it's just so laughable. All right? It's heads you win, tails you lose kind of scenario. There is no winning here with our media, no matter what Trump does. Meanwhile, John Fetterman, Democrat, Pennsylvania, one of the few voices of reason on the and it's funny, he's never on MS Now anymore. They don't have him on. He was a hero back in 2022 when he ran for the Senate. But now that he's making sense and supporting Israel and saying that we need a secure border and actually will meet and have conversations with President Trump, well, now he is persona non grata in the insane asylum that is MS Now. He appears on CNN once in a while, but not nearly as much as he used to. That's certainly for sure. But here he is on Fox talking about how he will vote against another War Powers Act that Democrats want to bring forth at this point to limit the president in the middle of a war, mind you. Again, whatever Trump does, reflexively, Democrats will oppose. He could be pro-oxygen, and they will stop breathing. That is the meme at this point, and this is cut number 7. Go.
To every single thing Iran done and is an entire war crime. Now, we are the force of good in the world, and now that's where now we're not even 40 days into this. And now I'm reading that they're now have to force another, war powers vote, and I will vote against that now because we have to stand our military to allow them to accomplish, the goals of epic fury.
And now Democrats are promising to primary Fetterman because he is not sticking to the script. How dare you? You're going to be like AOC, where you vote against any and all funding for Israel, stopping moving forward. You don't do that. That is a very, very big problem in the Democratic Party. But that's what John Fetterman is doing, a man of principle. Even though, you know what, when it comes down to votes, like the Save America Act, Fetterman's still saying he'd vote against that. So I always judge people on their actions, not on their words. It's refreshing to listen to Fetterman as far as him making common sense arguments, particularly around his support for Israel. But when push comes to shove, I don't know why he would be against the Save America Act. And again, if Republicans can't get this thing passed somehow, reconciliation seems to be the way to go. Another reconciliation bill. Reconciliation means that you only need 50 votes in the Senate and not 60 to overcome a filibuster. Reconciliation bills are not very common in terms of back-to-back. We had that with the big, beautiful bill in 2025. It's very rare to see another reconciliation bill passed the following year. But that's the only option that Republicans have. And if they can't figure this out on how to get 51 votes in the Senate to pass the Save America Act, they will absolutely get crushed in November. Because a lot of Republican voters already stay home during midterms when Trump isn't on the ballot. If you say, oh, you have the Congress and the Senate and you can't pass the one thing that your voters want most, that's enough to depress 20-25% of the vote where they say, you know what, I can't trust these guys. We gave them power and they're not doing what we asked. And if that happens, 20-25% means in every swing district that's decided by 1 or 2 points, it'll go to the Democrat every time. And that's why the Save America Act, has to pass. Anyway, this is Joe Concha. This is Concha at Night. We're back with so much more in just a moment.
Where liberalism is a no-go. The Joe Concha Show, weekday edition. Sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
Welcome back, everybody. So, Abby Spamberger's having some problems. big problems in Virginia. She is now polling lower than any Virginia governor in the history of polling at this stage of her term. And the funny thing is that she is seen as the model for Democrats, that you run as a moderate, portray yourself as a moderate, say you're not going to redistrict congressional seats, for example, and then only to get in there day one and do exactly that. Currently, the split in Virginia is 6 Democrats, 5 Republicans in Congress representing the Commonwealth. By the time Spanberger gets done with this, it's going to be 10-1 Democrats in a state that Kamala Harris didn't win exactly convincingly, a little over 5 points. So a little over 5 points, 6-5 sounds about right. Democrat to Republican. Nope. 10-1. And she's proposing all these new taxes after running on affordability. And then in a county like Fairfax, which is right near Washington, D.C., northern part of Virginia, 3/4, 75% of the murders there have been carried out by illegals, while Spanberger continues on a daily basis to talk about how ICE is really the bigger threat. Buyer's remorse is happening in Virginia. Spanberger was confronted on this, finally, by the press that adored her during the campaign. And let's just say that her answer is awkward. Cut number 11, go.
On your numbers, what do you attribute that to? And then what would you say back to Glenn?
I would say, if everybody hated me, why is everybody putting my face on their mailers for the referendum?
The reason why they're putting your face on the mailers for the referendum around redistricting governor is because that's what the opposition is doing. Because now you're unpopular. And the more people hear from you and see you with that profoundly annoying voice, sorry, it matters. Yeah, that's why you're on all the mailers. And hopefully that effort fails because, again, I don't mind redistricting in certain states where probably it's representative in terms of the vote as far as Republican and Democrat and vice versa. Virginia, Glenn Youngkin won there. Purplish state. It should not be 10-1 Democrats like we're in Illinois, California, Oregon, Washington, New York. That's certainly for sure. Anyway, Ronald Reagan, common sense. Here's what he thought was a missing constitutional amendment. I love doing the Reagan flashbacks because it's common sense that you think would apply today, but we don't have very smart people representing us at this point. This is cut number 2. Go.
And there's another thing that also that we should have, and that is a constitutional amendment preventing the president or preventing the government from running a deficit. Now, the first man who ever proposed that was the founder of the Democratic Party, Thomas Jefferson. Yeah. When he first read the Constitution, he said it has one glaring omission. It does not have a clause preventing the federal government from going into debt.
Wow. Exactly right. I mean, just run the government like we run our households. It's that simple. Don't spend what you don't have. That should be a constitutional amendment that you can't go above what's coming in and what's going out. And instead, we have folks on Capitol Hill that simply don't believe in this because they have too many favors that they have to give back to their donors. Anyway, this is Joe Concha. This is Concha at Night. As you know what I'm going to say next. Back with so much more in just a moment.
It's the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition.
Joe Concha.
Sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
Welcome back, everybody. So, this is what we call the C block, all right? As in conch, or as in crazy. Yeah, I think I'll go crazy on this one. Because you're going to hear some of these clips and be like, my goodness gracious, these people were elected to office, some of them. Except for Chappelle. We're going Chappelle during this block, and he makes some of the best points possible, and is very honest, by the way, in terms of Trump's taxes. All right, but we'll get to that in a moment. Anyway, here we have, you got to hear this gal, because she is profoundly loco. There's only one way to put it. Representative Latifah Simon, all right, she does a hearing on Capitol Hill where it's all about performance because everybody wants these clips to go viral. It's on C-SPAN. That used to be like no man's land. Like, okay, you say something and no one's really going to see it unless you're watching at the time. Now, all these things are clipped. And if you say something provocative enough and stupid enough, then, well, it gets played on shows like this, on the very popular #1 rated radio station, WABC in New York, and on stations around the country. So here is Representative Simon giving a warning to Republicans in terms of if they ever quote Dr. Martin Luther King again, there's going to be some real problems. This is cut number 18. Go.
I want to be clear that 4 out of the 5 of you last year posted on your social media the words of Dr. King. And there are so few folks who actually have studied, who are clear on the theology of freedom of King. Very few of you have read and studied and have sat in Ebenezer Baptist Church. So I would ask you, you keep Dr. King's name out of your mouth.
Reminds me of Will Smith. Remember that during the Oscars? He said to Chris Rock, keep my wife's name out of your mouth, and then literally hit the guy. Smacked him really hard. He played Muhammad Ali in a movie at one point. I mean, that really must have hurt. But the point is, so Democrats are for free speech and the First Amendment and threats to democracy they warn us about. But then if you're a Republican, you can't quote Dr. Martin Luther King. And I'm sure I know what she's talking about, where you don't judge a man by the color of his skin, but by the content of his character. That was at the Washington Mall. That was the I Have a Dream speech. That is probably one of the most quotable, iconic quotes of the 20th century as far as activists or politicians making a statement. And Dr. King was also about lifting yourself up individually. I'm not sure he was a Democrat. At the time, maybe. You know, the party was much different then. But, you know, keep Dr. King's name out of your mouth? Like you have ownership on this? Because I'm pretty sure that Representative Simon wasn't even alive when King was alive. Maybe she was, like 4 years old, before he was assassinated. But what gives you ownership? Because you're black? I'm not sure that's how it works. If I want to quote, or anybody wants to quote Dr. King to make a point, well, that is a compliment, obviously, to his efforts over the years, and lost his life as a result. But yeah, that's the way it goes at this point. And again, this clip is everywhere on social media. That was the whole point. She knew, practiced that in the shower, in the mirror, over and over again, knowing that this would get some traction. And here we are. That's just the way it works. Meanwhile, speaking of crazy, we had this clip of a woman in Michigan who actually, I mean, this is incredible to me, was rooting for the Iranians to find. There were 2 airmen that had to eject from their F-15 over Iran after it was shot down. One we found quickly. Another one had to hide in the mountains in like a crevice 7,000 feet up while he was severely injured. And this freak show goes on social media. All right. And again, this person has a job where she supports maybe a family, looks single, just saying. And to say this sort of thing on the air where you're rooting for the Iranians to capture an American airman, you're going to pay for it. Because if she was working for me, you're fired. That's it. You're gone. Well, listen to the video and I'll tell you what the result was eventually. In cut number 10, go.
When you're at war with somebody, guess what that other country does? Exactly what they've been doing through history all this time, right? You take them hostage and you use them for leverage. So guess what Iran did? They put a bounty out on his head, and whoever finds him gets a great award. I can't wait. Hopefully it's like money or jewels. I hope the person who finds him is very poor and ends up being very wealthy, and I hope Iran holds their promise.
It's Iran, first of all, you moron, not Iran. Good Lord. Also, you're hoping that an American gets captured, probably be tortured, held hostage, and probably killed at some point. Well, she lost her job, thank God, as an administrative assistant at the Green Apple Pantry as a result of that thing going viral. So, congratulations. Hope you're happy. And, oh, of course, the airman was rescued in one of the most daring, successful, brazen rescue missions behind enemy lines that we have seen, at least in my lifetime anyway. Probably have to go back to Vietnam to find something like that. Meanwhile, we were talking earlier this week on the show about the greatest comedians of all time. And, you know, I go through the list. And I know everybody has their differences, and I'm not ranking these by any number right here. but just off the top of my head, I think Maniscalco now, Sebastian, is top 3. Seinfeld, always great. A guy like George Carlin, classic. Richard Pryor wasn't exactly my thing. But, yeah, okay, we'll have him in the conversation as well. Dave Chappelle, clearly. Chris Rock, clearly. Eddie Murphy, younger Eddie Murphy, incredible. Right. But Chappelle, boy, here he is on SNL talking about Trump's tax returns and how Hillary Clinton really thought that she had him during a debate in 2016 before that election. And Trump's answers were so unapologetic and so what so many of us would say and what no politician would say. But the way he reacted is probably why he won that election, because of authenticity and talking about a system that many, many people hate. Anyway, this is your cut of the day. This is Dave Chappelle, cut number 16. Go.
That first debate, I'd never seen anything like it. I've never seen a white male billionaire screaming at the top of his lungs, "This whole system is rigged," he said. And across the stage was a white woman, Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama, sitting over there looking at him like, "No, it's not." I said, "Now, wait a minute, bro." It's what he said. He said, "I know the system is rigged because I use it." I said, "God damn." And then Hillary Clinton tried to punch him in the taxes. She said, "This man doesn't pay his taxes." He shot right back. "That makes me smart." And then he said, "If you want me to pay my taxes, then change the tax code. But I know you won't, because your friends and your donors enjoy the same tax breaks that I do."
It was genius in the moment. Obviously not rehearsed. Trump doesn't know the conversation during a 90-minute debate was going to go in that direction. But remember, that was right after the Washington Post conveniently got sent to tape from NBC talking about the grab them in the word you use before the word cat kind of thing, starts with a P. And then almost everybody in this country, including me, thought that the election was over at that point, given the video, given you hear it. And too many people realized that, hey, this is a plant as far as this being leaked out now. It was a video that was like 5 years old at the time. And then just the fact that Hillary was just so unlikable, that Trump was so different. And then literally running on, hey, yeah, if you had to take advantage of a tax loophole, wouldn't you do that too? And 98% of people out there said, yeah, I would do the same thing. And if you want to change the tax code, great. But your donors won't allow that to happen, so you won't do it. Now, will you, Hillary, who's been in government for a very, very long time? And that was such two big moments in that particular campaign in 2016. When Hillary called all Trump supporters a basket of deplorables, went after the voters, called them done. She came across as a complete elitist. Obviously, when she passed out at the 9/11 memorial, right, that showed that, oh, boy, she might not be all there, and they tried to cover it up. I guess I'll make it 3 moments. And then that moment in that debate right there, I think that was so huge. And then Trump obviously won that election. And after that, Democrats said the Russians actually fixed it for him. They changed votes. Too funny. Anyway, speaking of hilarious. Now, Dave Chappelle is genuinely hilarious. Don Lemon is unintentionally hilarious. These are two very, very different things. Don has a YouTube show now, because he was one of the few people that managed to get fired from CNN. Which, again, I made this point 100 times. I'll make it again. Jeffrey Toobin pleasured himself on a work call, on a Zoom call, in front of female employees and still kept his job. I mean, that's how hard it is to get fired from CNN, that Toobin didn't get the shaft. Or maybe he did get the shaft. Get it? Anyway, the point is that Lemon... Since no one's watching his YouTube channel and he's storming churches for attention, now he's saying he wants to run for president. Again, these are all what narcissists do, especially if you're a 60-something-year-old narcissist like Don Lemon, in order just to, please, pay attention to me, because his life has no meaning. And he was at the Al Sharpton National Action Network, whatever it is, this summit, and there were some MSNBC, MS Now people there, and here's what he had to say about that network, which is an absolute train wreck, an insane asylum, but Don really, really wants a show because he wants relevance again. This is cut number 19. Go.
No, you guys are doing... I watch you guys. MS Now is doing the best job out of any network, I think, right now. So it's not we're not knocking you guys because you guys are standing in the place where journalists should be standing now. I said
journalists,
you guys are under pressure that I can't even imagine right now. I used to be under, but even it's worse now, and you're doing a great job.
Thank you for that, Don.
He calls MS Now people journalists. That's funny. That's funny. You say, hey, Joe, you work for Fox. Yeah, we got opinion people. I'm an opinion person. I give analysis. I try to base it in fact. I do my prep. But we also have this thing called a news division with actual news people reporting facts without opinion. MS Now doesn't have anything like that, and their numbers show it. But Don really, really, really wants a job there. So, boy, he does what he does best, I guess, kiss the derriere, and that certainly just happened there. Before we go to break, Jen Newsom, because we said this was the crazy block. Jennifer Newsom is the wife of Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom, oh boy, must be like, please, stop talking. Stop talking. You sound crazier than Tim Walz's wife. She doesn't want to be called the First Lady of California. She has to be called the First Partner of California, because that shows that she is equal. Which, look, I'm all for that. My wife and I do as much laundry as she does, and the dishes as much as she does, and walk the dog as much as she does, and take the kids to XYZ as much as she does. I believe in an equal relationship in that regard. But this is all projection here as far as being the first partner. In other words, yeah, Gavin may have gotten more votes than the other guy or girl, but in the end, you're really getting a two-part deal. Sounds a lot like Hillary Clinton back with Bill way back when. But again, this is not a person that none of us, even Democrats, could endure for 4 years having to listen to. That is for certain. Cut number 20, go.
Really, with First Partner, I wanted to continue the work that we have been doing at the Representation Project, which is basically deconstructing stereotypes, in particular gender stereotypes. And I felt like lady was sort of a backwards connotation of who we really are.
Lady is offensive. So I want to be called First Partner now. Again, he will not be the Democratic nominee. Not so much because of Jen Newsom. Yeah, she's nuts. But they're both so phony. And both will say anything to appeal to a certain crowd at a particular time. And trust me, when you see her, if there's ever an SNL skit and character that needed to be created, Lorne Michaels, you got your girl. But of course, that probably won't happen. Anyway, this is Joe Concha. This is Concha at Night. We wrap this puppy up in just a moment.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition.
Joe Concha.
Sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
So we talked about Gavin Newsom in the last block and how we really, really don't want America to be like California. We would like it to be like Florida, however. And I'm a big fan of Ron DeSantis. I think, unfortunately, since he ran against Trump, that's somehow now held against him. And running for president this time around, if he were to take on J.D. Vance or Marco Rubio, or both, it would go the same way it did against Trump. In other words, once Trump would endorse a Vance or a Rubio, then DeSantis has no shot, because the MAGA people don't like that. It's as if he's working against Trump. So, all that said, Florida is run beautifully. It really is. It's why so many people are moving down there. It's got coast, it's got climate, it's got no income taxes in terms of state income taxes. Its police feel respected. It's safer and safer. And just, why wouldn't you move to Florida? I have several friends that did that from New Jersey, and none of them, I poll all of them, like, when are you coming back? And they all say the same thing to me. You're effing crazy. You think I'm going back to that state. But I'm stuck here because I got 2 young kids, and they're ensconced in sports in their school, and I would never uproot them at this point, given that it's a great community that I live in, and great public schools as well. It's surprising. I know I'm an anomaly in this state, but we ain't going anywhere. But here is what's going on in Florida now, where DeSantis has now and through the legislative process, has passed a law that says that, okay, you want a driver's license in Florida, well, the exams are in English only. We are not going to kowtow to any other languages. You're in America. If you don't know English, you can't read signs. You can't read signs. That's what gets people killed. This is cut number 13. Go.
Florida is becoming the first state to only give their driver's license exams in English. It was just announced that starting on Friday in the state of Florida, all DMV tests, including those for 18-wheeler licenses, are going to be administered in English only, and you will not be able to bring a translator. This includes all printed exams in Spanish, Haitian Creole, and other languages will be completely removed. You are only going to be able to read, write, and understand English if you want to get a license in the state of Florida.
Amen to that. We've seen too many people killed as a result of, in California, for example, CDL licenses, commercial driver's licenses being given out to people who don't know the language and therefore don't know that they're driving the wrong way down a one-way or don't know what stop means. It can't happen. And the fact that Florida is only 1 out of 50 states to mandate this, I would hope that more red states follow suit here. Meanwhile, let's go to cut number 8 here, shall we? Because I had no idea. I always thought it was LGBTQ, but now the acronym has gotten really, really long. Listen to this. This is cut number 8. Go.
They provided $0 to deal with the ongoing genocide of MMIW G2SLGBTQIA+. This is abhorrent.
Wait, what? That sounds like a password for like your Wi-Fi when you don't change it at first. You got to go to the router. Can we play that again, Elias? Because it's that good.
They provided $0 to deal with the ongoing genocide of MMIW G2SLGBTQIA+. This is abhorrent.
Wow, that is so impressive. If you watch the video, she wasn't going off a teleprompter or looking down at notes. She really knew off the top of her head that it was, let me read this, MMIWG2SLGBTQIA+. Wow. What do all those things mean? I get what the LGB part means. T, I guess. Why are there two Qs now? And then an IA and then the plus? What is the MMIWG2? Where does the 2 come from? What could that possibly mean? Oh, one more time, Elias. It's too good, please.
They provided $0 to deal with the ongoing genocide of MMIW G2SLGBTQIA+. This is abhorrent.
It really is a Wi-Fi password. All right, before we go, Al Sharpton yesterday with Zohran Mamdani. And Mamdani said that he was a New York institution, like the Empire State Building and folded pizza. Don't institutions like Sharpton, I don't know, if we're coming on to human form here, pay taxes when they're supposed to? Just saying. Want to Brawley, Crown Heights. We're going to call him a New York institution? He nearly ripped the city apart. But after he was introduced, and this is the way Al Sharpton pronounced Zohran Mamdani's name, and again, this is the greatest thing ever. Cut number 21, go.
Zohran Mamdani.
Mamdani. I think, wait, play it again. I think there's M's.
Zohran Mamdani.
Mamdani. So it's like.
Zohran Mamdani.
Yeah. Wow. So Mamdammy. Mamdani. Wow. It's not a hard name. It's pretty phonetic. But one more time, Elias. Why not?
Zohran Mamdani.
And this guy's like a power broker within the Democratic Party. You had all these people coming to New York to kiss the ring. Anyway, we got to go. Thanks so much for tuning in tonight. 9 p.m. Eastern tomorrow on WABC and on stations around the country. Until then, I got 2 words for you. Zohran Mamdani. No, I mean, it's actually 2 other words. Bye-bye.
Zohran Mamdani.